I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Bang for buck, possibly the most delicious and worth it iced coffee there is. Welcome to another video at your service. Ako nga pala si Leo. In the last 4 videos in this series, we talked about the GOATs in the different roles in Mobile Legends Bang Bang in the history of MPL PH. And you guys have been amazing. Sobrang ganda ng mga discussions, sobrang healthy. And if I may say so myself, there were some picks and some honorable mentions, some top 3s that made me really think of like, dapat ba kasama yun sa akin? Because again, our history and our talent is so rich and diverse that I could go on forever. Again, this is just the 5th in the series, and because of your comments, that's gonna show up right here. Say what's up to Wilson, MJI, Angelica, AI Dump, Durrell, Mr. D, replied Jennifer, Moy Moy, Justin, Christ Alin, and Aristoteli. Nakakuha ako ng mga ideas. So there's a few more videos incoming because I originally just planned this to be a 5-video series. Again, the 5 main roles. But there seems to be more that you guys want and that deserve to be highlighted in the MPL. So abangan nyo yun. But for now, you know what it is. It's time to talk about the greatest junglers in the history of MPL PH. Now, some names that you for sure know are definitely here, whether they be honorable mentions or top 3s, and as well some names that you might be looking for in my past videos. Nandito rin yun. Alright, so before we begin, I'd like to clear something out first. When we say junglers, that is the role. Ibig sabihin, yung ginagawa nung player na yon. Meaning, yung designation nila. So if you have Retribution, if you pick up the jungler boots, or noon, yung jungling knife, then you are a jungler. But when you use the word core, which is what other people or most people associate with this role, then there's a confusion. Core is a category of hero or a category of playstyle. Core can also be in the mid because you have heroes like Arsa or Eve or Cecilion that deal a lot of damage, right? Especially when they get farmed up, and core yon because they are core to your strategy, core to dealing damage to the opponents. Can also be in the gold lane. Believe it or not, there are some cores that come from the XP lane, may mga ganon. But when you say jungler, yan talaga mismo yung role. Again, you have to have Retribution to do this. You have to be playing in the jungle, and more recently, mas naging concrete, mas nabuo, mas na-establish kung nga ba talaga pagiging jungler because of the jungle emblem, because of utility junglers coming into the scene. And with that being said, I believe we have to start this list in the honorable mentions with one of the players that actually made that role or that style a thing. In Season 9, he introduced the Demon Slayer to the world, and we all followed. It's Sdzyz. Hands down, he may not have been the first to figure it out or the first to do it as much. Again, we don't know what's happening in the RG scene, in the amateur scene, elsewhere in the world, but for sure, siya ang nagpauso and made it a thing in the MPL PH, which is arguably the grandest stage of them all, save for when there's a international tournament or a world championships. You know what it is. You know what I meant when I said that. It's MPL PH. Sdzyz making Demon Slayer a thing. That alone, despite his relatively short career, he debuted in Season 5, if I'm not mistaken. He was one of my players. I've handled him for a year since Season 7. Tapos, we moved on. But again, we've yet to see his prime, right? He finished 3rd in Season 9. And of course, he had a very talented team with him. Napalupit ng super rookies, led by Ben Things, and of course, SD was there, the franchise player for TNC. Sobrang galing ni SD. He started out as an assassin, as like a core. Yan, sobrang pure core ni SD. When he started, played like a Claude and like those Lings and those Lancelots, Benedettas. Pero ngayon, like, siyang nagpauso ng mga Bakshas, Akais. That's more his thing now. And then also, he slaps Retribution and Demon Slayer on almost everything. So, ayun, that alone makes him worthy of showing up in this list as an honorable mention. That's Sdzyz. Next up, another player that defined excellence and of course is now royalty in MPL PH history. I'm talking about the king, Killu VJ, two-time MPL champion, MSC 2021 champion, one of the youngest in his class of multi-achievement players in the league and the history of the esport in the world. Kiel played a modicum of roles. Medyo diverse ang play history ni Kiel, especially starting with Limitless, even before that. The way he got into execration, he was just about to hit his prime. He was just about to get his first international title. And his Ling, despite what some people may have said at the time, is a thing of beauty. Grand Finals, Season 7 with execration. MSC 2021, Killu VJ, thing of beauty. And now his evolution going into the mid lane, into a more leadership role. Now, that's just growth. That there's more we can expect from the king. So who knows, he might show up in an updated version of my greatest mid laners or greatest, spoiler alert, multi-role players in MPL PH. So again, it just begs to be said, and of course he deserves this accolade, the respect to be in my honorable mentions of greatest junglers. That's Killu VJ, the king. Up next is a teammate of Killu VJ playing under Smart Omega as well, and his brand of jungling is unique in the sense that it's an acquired taste. Hindi siya agad-agad mapapansin mo na malupit tong batang to. Ang lakas nito. It took me a while, and it took everyone a while, but now I think in Season 10, even before the playoffs, we can say for sure, Ryzen deserves to be in people's minds. This kid is legit. He's in my honorable mentions. Playstyle ni Ryzen, it started out very, I'd say, typical, very stereotypical, very typecast into, mabilis bumindot yan. That's an assassin jungler. That's a assassin core, if you will. Because his Lancelot was great. He started showing off the Phantom Execution in and then make his way out combo, Season 8. And then he also was okay and solid with a Ling. But then in Season 9, he started to show us, yo, I'm okay with an Akai, with a Balmond, with a Cho. He won with a Cho in the playoffs, Season 9. So, that being said, now that he's starting to play more and more, he's actually a mainstay for Omega. Ang nagpapalit lang naman doon mid in Rome. Much like Kelra and Renzio, he's undeniable. You don't want to change what works, and he's such a great team player. I mean, that's what I saw and I heard when I was talking with my colleagues months ago, almost a year ago or so. Pag kinumpare mo si Ryzen kay Killu VJ is a leader. Killu VJ is a pioneer, forerunner. Harap dapat siya. Dapat sumusunod kayo sa kanya. That's why he's so good as a shot caller, I guess. That's where they saw the potential. But for Ryzen, he really just plays for the team. He will do the job that needs to be done so the team can win. Example, in the Season 9 playoffs, there were so many times where Chaknu, hirap na hirap si Chaknu. All he needed was that one miracle play, and I'm specifically thinking of a game wherein he played an Atlas. Ang pangit ng KD ni Chaknu. But Ryzen then was playing either a Baksha or a Balmond or an Akai, one of those three things. And siya ang nag-face check. Yung jungler ang nag-face check. And yeah, he will die. He might die if he checks into a bush with 3 or 4 dudes in it. Pero yun yung gagawin niya kasi yun yung kailangan ng team. And he will. And he will. Just watch his week 5, day 2, game 2, game-winning gambit against Blacklist International. That's it. That's his recibo. That's his recibo moment, alright? Talking about Ryzen in my honorable mentions. Next up, my last honorable mention. Yeah, deal with it. I got 4 honorable mentions. If you want to make a list too, go ahead, put it in the comments, alright? Libre lang naman yun, and forget to subscribe. Click it. Ow! Right there, and the bell button. Bing! Alright, now, my 4th honorable mention, he's no longer here with us in the MPL Philippines, but instead is playing for Onyx Esports, and he has taken the scene by storm. I'm talking about Kairi, that's right, the future. He's in my honorable mentions, and what earned him this spot is, besides his little stint as a mid laner with Onyx PH in Season 7, which showed his diversity and his willingness to evolve and grow and learn. I think kung si SD innovation, si Killu VJ pushing the boundaries, pushing the limits, achievement-wise as well, Ryzen doing what's needed. For Kairi, it's more of a refinement. Sobrang linis ng galaw ng batang to. And if any player in the history of MPL PH had a cleaner game or had better mechanics, pound for pound, or even arguably so, I think it's a player in my top 3. But if you're talking about polished gameplay, clean execution, and just game sense out the wazoo, it's gotta be Kairi. I have one moment in my head wherein he was playing at M3. Kid reached the grand finals, by the way. Sobrang idol ko si Kairi. Also a sweetheart, by the way. Gotta love him for that. Sobrang ganda ng working relationship ko with Kairi on a personal level as well. We spent a lot of time together in Singapore, and he's such a baby brother to me. Promise. Sobrang kulit. As in, anyways, I miss him, by the way. I might see you. I need to go to Indonesia soon. Kairi has a play in my head. There's a moment where he was playing a Yisun Shin, and he was legit wall banging, fam. Wall banging. This is usually an FPS term, but what he did with the Yisun Shin was he was using traceless to go through walls so that his opponent can hit him, and then, again, passive Yisun Shin, once he changes range, he has an extra damage as a crit, and he killed. He was dueling with his opponent, and he won. So again, it's that level of mechanics and micro gameplay that really is needed in a jungler, especially at that time. Again, scenes have changed now. It's about a year taken away from M3. But again, that's what earned Kairi here an honorable mention in my list of greatest junglers in the history of our league. And now finally we make it into the top 3. Of course, there's no doubt that you guys will agree with majority of these. Again, 2 out of 3 confirmed walang laban. There's maybe one here that you might have an asterisk for, but it's my list. Deal with it. Number 1, here it is. It's the king of the jungle, aka Tarzan, aka one half of the most influential duo in the history of our league so far. It's Sdzyz. Sdzyz did, since his debut, and still continue to do that today, what SD did in S9. And he changed the way we play the game. He changed how we saw this role, how you can use what you know and what you're good at and affect everything around you, affect the way the game is played on a global scale. All right? Sdzyz doesn't play the Lancelot. Sdzyz doesn't really play the Ling. Sdzyz doesn't really play the Hayabusa. But he plays a majority of other heroes very well, and he plays with almost every single team he is a part of, and has won countless accolades. Debut season UI, season 4, if you will. I hope you never forget it. Never forgot. Grand finals. That was a heart-stopping moment. 5 games. Pure adrenaline. And today he's still doing the same things. Ganun pa rin kalakas si Sdzyz. And he changed the game. He set the bar. He is the meta. That's Sdzyz, all right? In my top 3 junglers of all time. Next up, before I name my last one, which I think is still for me the best. This is not in any order. The first 2 not in any order, but I have to take my hat off to the KDA machine, Hadji. To me, he was more of a jungler, and he just took what he learned as a jungler, translated it into a roamer and mid type player. And ganun lang kalupit si Hadji. Alright, ganun kalupit si Hadji. He almost won a championship too before season 8, season 6 with Omega then. And then went off to play at M2. Came back in M3, won the damn thing. So I'm thinking a lot of Hadji's success now came from his time as a jungler, came from his time as the KDA machine. He still took that, still does KDA machine things as mid and roam, but his play in the jungle really, ganun yung kalinis, ka-polished, ka-consistent yung laro niya. That's really what defined him for me in my head. That's why he earned this slot in the top 3 of my greatest junglers of all time. It's Hadji. And of course, last but not least, there's only one more name, right? There's only one more name. And I'm not gonna list out his accolades, his achievements, sobrang dami din nun. But I will tell you that the game would not be the same, and the potential we see in young talent and what we expect of when we say jungler, assassin, MLBB pro player, we would never be the same if it were not for KarlTzy. I think KarlTzy still is miles ahead of the standard. He's still just about to hit his stride, I think. Bata pa si Karl. And what he's achieved in his youth, I hope at some point can translate into a long-lasting career. Because I think Karl is one of those generational talents, much like a lot of people in this series that I mentioned, much like a lot of those players. He can still change and grow, and the fact that he's the best at what he does, and at some point the best in the world when he won MVP in M2 and won that championship, took it home for us. And of course, all the other times he won, ang dami pang magagawa nun. And until today, until now, it makes waves. It continues to change things, even from the years back that he's been playing with the league. So, ayun, if you ask people and you still consider like who's the greatest jungler, who's your favorite jungler, who's the best jungler, a lot of people will still say KarlTzy, despite his up and downs and his rocky career in 2021. You never forget that KarlTzy is still up there and is still one of the greatest junglers in the history of our league. And that's my list, alright? Gawa rin kayo. I had 3 picks. That's Sdzyz, Hadji, and KarlTzy. And then my honorable mentions. Let me know in the comments below para rin ma-feature kayo sa next video ko because you know there's more, right? You guys keep asking for more. Just keep on doing that. Of course, click like and subscribe. Share with me your thoughts. And of course, there will be more. Alright? I'll see you on the next video. Y'all stay safe. Peace.